Evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. And it's Saturday, and it's 5 o'clock, and it's time for Star Trek. And what we're going to talk about, because Valentine's Day is tomorrow, is our least favorite and favorite relationships in Trek. And I'm joined by my good friends, the One Ton Hammer,
Hello.
Irate Prostate,
Oh,
Skeptalk,
hi, everybody.
and Dr. Functional.
Jolan True.
So here we are. It's almost Valentine's Day. So why not talk about some relationship stuff? I figured Skep had a great idea last week that, we would talk about our favorite and least favorite relationships in Trek, and I think it'll be fun. So let's go in chronological order, shall we? And by chronological order, I mean in canon. So we'll start off with Enterprise because it's the shortest series.
Oh, we had to pick one from every one?
Well, we can talk about whatever we want, actually.
Okay. All right.
What's your favorite relationship in Trek? Since this was your
my favorite
suggestion.
My favorite in all of Trek comes from an episode called The Inner Light. It's TNG.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and
a
it's
great
Picard
episode.
and Aline.
Yes.
Yeah. And where Picard gets knocked unconscious by a probe, and 20 minutes pass for him on Enterprise, but he lives an entire lifetime on this other planet. He gets married, and he has a family, and the whole freaking thing.
Oh, that was a brilliantly written.
That's actually that is my favorite episode in TNG.
What amazed me about that was he even remembered how to play the flute afterwards when he got back to reality.
Yes.
And
They just did so many good touches in that. It was wonderful.
And Eileen is such a great woman.
She was awesome.
To put up with, first of all...
He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, your husband falls ill, right? And then he wakes up and thinks he's somebody else. From her point of view, right? He wakes up and thinks he's somebody else, and he has to figure out he's trying to figure out how to get back to his starship and away from you, right? And you still manage to win him back over and get him to stop, right? And get him to focus on his community and have kids and raise a family and become a member of the community like he was from their point of view before he fell sick. Mm-hmm. What kind of a strong woman, that is some strength.
I wanted to compare that was an example of them doing a good job with that kind of idea. Mm-hmm. There was an almost analogous relationship in an episode, I think it was called Sub Rosa, between Beverly and Ronan the Ghost. That's how not to do it.
Yes, exactly.
That episode was a beating and is one of my least favorite episodes.
I'll refuse to watch it when I rewatch
Oh God,
TNG.
if I watched it, if it was on cable, I just wouldn't watch it. And if I'm watching it on Netflix or something, I'm just like, next.
Skip it.
and it has Counselor Troy's worst line in the whole series contained. This episode is so bad in so many ways. Let me count the ways. When she looks at Crusher and says, "Frankly, I'm envious. I actually wanted to vomit. You did not just say that.
I'm envious that you're having candle sex. I want to have candle sex too. That's not fair." Half the men on this ship would lay me if I looked at them funny, but I want candle sex.
But it was horrifying. So anyway, that's how you don't do it. But Inner Light is just as brilliant as what's that one? What was the other one? Sub Rosa, was that the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Was bad. So anyway, those are a couple for you to consider.
I think the Inner Light one is a great choice because it, like I said, like it shows, and they did for a 45-minute episode. They
That
did
was an
just the
amazing
right
amount of
amount
content.
of content, like and they paced it so well.
Good writing can get a lot of content in a relatively short period of time, and that was an example of fabulous writing
Yeah, I agree.
and an unbelievable idea. Just the idea of him living that whole lifetime. Think about in 20 minutes how his point of view changed to
Yeah,
be Picard.
yeah, because he went first from I'm obviously in the wrong place. I need to get out of here to this is my home.
Yep. Yeah.
These are my people, and I need to figure out a way to solve the problem that's
And
happening.
he has decades invested in that. He loves those people.
Yeah,
Oh man. God, just
that
love that
episode
episode.
gives me
So
chills,
good.
man.
Yeah, me too.
It's
And
really
It is
good.
Patrick Stewart's favorite episode.
I don't
Is it
really
really?
blame him.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
I honestly like, and even to this day, when I watch that episode and he's playing his flute at the end,
Yeah.
I can't not cry. I just can't. Like, I cry every time
Tightening
I
the
watch.
buttocks does not help.
Nope.
It kind of leads into one of the more favorite relationships in TNG that I enjoyed was Picard with, oh God, I forget her name, the science woman who plays the piano. Darren. Picard, Darren's
It's going
relationship.
to be my
Oh.
choice.
And
That
how,
was great.
yeah, Hammer, because at the end there, how his conflict of personal feeling versus professional responsibility puts those two at odds, and he has to make the tough call. And thankfully, everything turns out, but it ends up blowing up in his face personally because they can't really be together, and that's why you really don't allow those kinds of relationships in those kinds of militaristic structures,
Yeah.
is because that could play a big role in a decision-making process that could blow up in your face in a bad way.
Or you'd want to like risk other people to save the person you love, or it's a hard, like, and again they illustrated that very well because like it wasn't like she was like, oh you bastard, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end when they both were like, no, this is a bad idea.
Yeah. But the interaction between the two of them leading up to that was just gorgeous. The callback to the flute and them just jamming along in the Jeffries tubes, and the interaction of the actors in character was just gorgeous. I was really rooting for them to, okay, finally Picard's going to get a woman who he is deserving of him and he is deserving of,
Yes.
rather than feeling a little bit ham-fisted or being a little bit tongue-in-cheek like it was with Vosh.
I didn't like him and Vosh. Like
I like Vosh, but I didn't like
Vosh
him with her.
too,
No
but
chemistry.
No, like I like Vosh as a character, but I didn't like them together. I thought that was
weird.
Weird.
Thought it was forced.
Weird is the exact word I was going for. Functional.
Yeah,
An
because
unlikely duo.
Yeah.
there was the tie-in of the archaeology, but that's as far as it went.
Yeah.
She was a rebel. She was a do-your-own kind of thing. He was a military commander, very structured, very regimental. And it wasn't the kind of, yeah, but it wasn't the kind of opposites that should have attracted.
No. It was
Right. Well, there's an unspoken electricity that happens. You can tell, man, when people like turn each other on. Just
Yeah.
when you touch, it's just like it's that simple, that tactile, and you can see it. You can hear it, you can experience it in the way people react to each other, and it just was not there.
No.
They were acting.
Yeah.
Very much
They're
so.
they're reading lines.
Exactly.
And,
If I had-
sorry.
Oh, if you had more to
No,
say
go
on
ahead.
that. I was just going to say, I'm going to just address the elephant in the room and say the best, hands down relationship in all in TNG was Geordi and Data.
Yep.
Oh,
Best friendship ever.
I thought, yeah, it wasn't a romantic relationship. It was just a friendship of, the synthetic man and I mean, Geordi was kind of an antisocial asshole.
Kinda, yeah.
Not
a real boy.
He hung
Not-
out
not
with
in a
the
mean
people,
way.
Like he hung out with the people that he hung out with, like the people that he knew, right?
But he was very socially
That
awkward.
was funny.
Well, he was socially inept. He couldn't get himself a girlfriend because he would fumble over himself. It wasn't like he was aggressively bad. He was, I don't have any idea what I'm doing
Yeah.
kind of guy,
Yeah. He probably spent most of his young years with his head in all sorts of bits
Technical
of tech
manual.
and
Yeah.
manuals. Yeah, exactly. And so that kind of led to his relationship with Data in that he couldn't offend Data. He couldn't mess up with Data. Short of, maybe short-circuiting Data or
Well, I was about to say that, and the extra cool thing is he got to work on Data. If Data was broken, he got to fix him.
one of the only people Data actually trusted to go into his inner workings and
Yep.
help him out.
Yep.
And there was a point in Nemesis where Data is going to jump across the void to the other ship. And just before he goes, he turns and looks at Geordi, and Geordi looks at him, and there's a nod. It's like, it's been good knowing you, buddy.
Yeah. Almost a really cool callback to Star Trek 2 with Kirk and Spock.
Yeah.
Or there was a line, but it was the
kind
look.
of a similar thing.
Yeah, it was the look between Nimoy and Shatner more so
it was
than
all
the
in
line.
the eyes. It was all in the eyes. It really was. That's
And
a great point.
It plays again in that scene that Hammer just brought up, and just there was no line; it was just the look.
Yeah.
Very powerful stuff.
And it's so cool that like they would defend each other. Like Data not having emotion, he would defend Geordi in his own way. Right? And
give me an example of what you're talking about, Lions.
So for Data defending Geordi, there's a line there when Q is human. There's a line that is almost seems throwaway and humorous, but it's really not if you think about it. It's Data's way of sticking up for Geordi. Geordi is giving orders and Q is arguing with him. And Geordi goes, "Shut up, Q." Right? And do your job, basically. And Q's like, "Who does he think he is?" And Data very quietly goes, "Geordi thinks he is in charge here, and he is correct." And it's the way it's delivered is at first you're just like, "Ah ha ha ha," right? Q just got owned. But really, it's Data going like, this is also he is the senior officer here, but he is also my friend, and you're going to listen to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, that's a great point.
And then there's Geordi basically defending Data against a senior officer. I think would Pulaski be a senior officer to Geordi as
Yes.
the CMO? Yeah.
Very definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, he defends Data against Pulaski because she's just like, "Oh, you're nothing but a pile of circuits." And
Refers
blah,
to
blah.
him as it.
It, yeah, and Geordi gets pissed.
Very angry. Yeah.
He gets mad, and that's honestly why Moriarty gets created, because Geordi's pissed off at Pulaski, and he's trying to show her, fuck you. He's not just a pile of circuits. He's not an it. Don't insult my friend like that. You may be my senior officer, but you're wrong.
Because emotionally, that's a reflection on him, on who he chooses as a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a great call for the Data Geordi friendship. I think that was an awesome call.
And I think ever since the Encounter Farpoint to Nemesis, that relationship was it was always fun to watch.
Yeah.
Whether it was campy like the Moriarty stuff, or if it was super serious, like the Maddox stuff.
Or masks when Data's like,
Masks.
Geordi, what does it feel like when a person is losing his mind? And
Mhm.
Geordi's like,
Yes.
Data, you're starting to scare me.
That's not what you want to hear.
That's one of the best lines I think I've ever heard delivered is, Geordi, what does it feel like when a person is losing his mind? And it's like, ugh.
Oh boy.
This may not end well.
Yeah.
You know,
Since
not
we're-
to change. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just was gonna keep going with the TNG stuff.
Oh, I had another relationship I wanted to point out, and it's an interesting one. It's not long per se, but it's Dax and Lanera in Rejoined, and you see two of Dax's lifetimes essentially, and she had been in love with Lanera when they both had different hosts. When Dax sees her again, all the old feelings come rushing back.
Yeah.
They try to resist, respecting, the Trill
Yeah.
rule
Yeah.
about not to rekindle old romantic, relationships, but they can't.
Am I
Jerry
the only
Taylor
one-
threw out the window later, but
Am I the only one who liked Jadzia and Worf?
I thought it
No,
was good.
I like Jadzia and Worf. I didn't think that was forced at all. A lot of
I
people
love
say
it.
that was forced, but I thought it was fine. I understood
fine.
that completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
thought they
made
were
perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I thought they were a good couple that because they both are hot-headed and stubborn in their own ways, the other would not let them get away with that.
Yep.
Anyway, just to end the thing with Lanera, the fact that it ends with a broken heart, and that's I thought that was very powerful.
Anyone like I really, speaking of Trill relationships, I honestly liked Odon and Crusher, and I kind of wish they had done something a bit more than what they had done.
Which one was that in?
That was in The Host.
The Host. Okay.
That was the one where there was an accident, like a shuttle. Their shuttle was fired upon, and the body was injured too badly, and they needed a new host.
So they
And
put it in
Riker
Riker.
had to.
Yeah. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And see, that was a good relationship between Beverly and Odon, and I kind of wish that they had, like, I understand why they had to do it the way they did for the episode, right? Because there was an issue that Odon was navigating as an ambassador and a diplomat, and they needed the problem, right? But I kind of wish that it would have been cool, like they had covered something similar. They would cover something similar to that in the next season with the Outcast.
Yep.
And I think it would have been, I don't know, maybe they figured it wasn't quite, their audience wasn't quite ready for that. I don't know, because
Outcast was the gay one, right? That was the
yeah, it was the everybody's neutral gender, and there are some people who have who realize that they are female and male, and they're educated,
and it was against their law to confess to one or the other,
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah,
Riker had
Yeah.
to tap that shit too.
Yep.
yeah, that's right. That's right. He went for it.
He was a horn dog.
And it's
So-
funny because that's what I was going to bring up was I think personally my favorite relationships in all of Trek were Riker and the woman du jour, because yes, he was a horn dog, he was a space slut or whatever you want to call it, but he was never belligerent, he was never mean about it. He was never
he wasn't smarmy about it.
he wouldn't take advantage of the women. He was
No.
very respectful of everyone he pursued, from the genderless girl to Minuet. To
Yeah.
I remember when the series came out. This friend of mine that would come over and watch it with me every Sunday. We had a bet on whether he would Kirk her or not. We called it Kirkin.
See, but even Kirk was a little bit more like
chauvinistic
about it.
A little bit more.
Riker wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Riker was a guy.
William, do you not like women?
Do you not like girls?
Oh, of course I do. Oh, is there something special about this feet washing thing? Well, generally, you start at the bottom and work your way up, and the next line is the best line. I think I can handle that.
Yeah.
He's got a timeshare on Risa, right?
He does.
Oh my god!
But I mean, he's never an asshole about it.
Yeah,
He's always very, like Functional said, he's very respectful.
The consummate gentleman, yeah.
He's very gentlemanly about it. And then he's
Still my favorite line. What's the matter, William? You don't like women?
Or like
of all the people to ask that to, you know.
And he gets like even when he's with the leader of Angel One.
Oh yeah.
He's even like
he tries to make that legit. Everyone's poking fun at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
like, hey.
He's trying to like I'm just trying to be diplomatic here, and then Mistress Beata is like trying to seduce him, and he's like, I don't know if I should.
And the answer is
yes. I want
to,
but I this is kind of not regulatory.
Yeah, you can probably remind me the name of the episode, BP. The one where all their minds get wiped and they're on that mission.
That's a great episode.
Conundrum, yeah, and where he has that relationship with Ro.
Yeah.
Again, even though there's that, just animalistic attraction between the two, because they have no memory of their experiences together before that, he's still very respectful of her.
Yeah.
And when they get their memories back, they kind of again, they have that look to one another in the middle of their conversation. And it's just kind of like, yeah, we understand it happened, but now that we know who we are, let's just forget about it. And they're both just very, good and concise about it. I love Riker. I think he was one of my favorites out of all of Trek.
He was an interesting character, and it was so cool that you could literally watch him play poker the game poker with his friends, and then go to the bridge and play tactical poker. Quite literally play tactical poker with his enemies and win.
And thank God they let him have the beard in season 2.
Yeah.
I think my favorite relationship amongst all of the crews would probably be McCoy and Spock.
Yes.
Because it's on so many levels, and I think that if that doesn't exist, we probably don't see a Next Generation.
I agree.
It was the key part of that show. I mean, there was Kirk and Spock as well, but I think if you take either one of those out, specifically Kirk and McCoy, because that was where all the humor was. And I think a lot of episodes, I mean, the whole Mr. Spock, you're the most cold-blooded man I've ever known. Why, thank you, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That there's always an episode that has something somewhere, if not two something somewhere along that. Yet when Spock is beaming down, he requests McCoy as a person to come along with him and Kirk. And the request is about as emotional as Spock can possibly be.
Yeah.
I don't remember what episode that was but he was doing the whole, every 7 years mating ritual thing.
Bonfire, yeah.
His bonfire. So he's beaming down to the surface, and he's beaming down with Kirk, and he says, I also request McCoy accompany us. And McCoy says, I would be honored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just said, okay. Yeah, he could have said just okay. But he said, I would be honored. There's a respect there. Even though they poke at each other, Spock will say, maybe he's scared of your snakes and rattles. And he walks away, and McCoy's all burning and that kind of stuff. Or, Spock has that big emotional reveal that Kirk is still alive, and McCoy pins him down, and he says, "You can't tell me that wasn't going to be a huge emotional display." And Spock plays it off, and Kirk says, "In a pig's eye." And immediately Kirk rescues Spock and says, "Come on, Spock, let's go mind the store," and they walk out. That whole play of all of those three, but specifically McCoy and Spock, how it's a jab at each other, but there's a sincerity beneath all of it.
Exactly.
And
it's complicated.
It even carries forward into Encounter at Farpoint. Nimoy's not there, obviously. It's Data and McCoy. And he says, "I thought it was generally accepted, sir, that Vulcans are an advanced and most honorable race. They are, and a damned annoying at times." Yes, sir. There's still that carryover, that passing of the torch in referencing the original series. I love it.
It's my favorite interaction because he goes, "I don't see no points on your ears, boy, but you sound like a Vulcan."
Yeah.
"No, sir, I am an android. Almost as bad."
That's right. I've forgotten that. That's a great moment.
Oh,
Captain, thank heaven, Mr. Scott, there was no DD involved. It was my cross-searching to be that recovered them. Well then, thank God for pitchforks and pointed ears.
And I think, again, it carried over in the relationship between Archer and Saval in Enterprise. They were constantly at odds, constantly trying to figure the other's species out, but also their individual personality. But there was that underlying respect that built throughout the series. It was very similar to McCoy and Spock.
Yeah,
I think that was by design.
I do too.
What about Trip and T'Pol with their little back rubs and shit?
At first I didn't like that, and then it grew on me.
Me too.
Yeah. I just the way that it ended with them having a genetically like a test tube baby between the two of their genetic material really ruined that relationship for me.
It did.
That put the nail in the coffin at the end.
A regular
Yeah,
baby?
why couldn't they just?
Did they not think they could?
I guess they needed the MacGuffin of the actual child. Like having T'Pol be pregnant with both of their child wouldn't have been as easily a plot device that could change hands or whatever. I really like the entire arc just made no sense to me. But I think you're right. The budding romance of the first human and Vulcan with two really interesting characters in my mind would have been really cool to see flush out in the future.
Like I keep saying, the writers for season 4 were phenomenally better than the writers for everything else. But had they been given more time, they probably would have fleshed it out. What does everyone? Even though it would have been a conflict of interest, I think Chakotay and Janeway would have made better sense than Chakotay and Seven.
Chakotay and Seven made no sense.
No sense at all.
No.
None. There was absolutely nothing there.
We did get glimpses of it.
We did in the episode where they were on the planet because they had that disease.
Parasite or something, yeah.
And they it would have made it they worked.
Yeah, it would have worked, yeah.
Once he got her to lower the shields a bit, and become a human, you don't have to be captain right now. There's no ship. You're not captain. We can be friends. We can live, and do the best with what we got. But you did see that sort of romantic side of their friendship,
and
that wasn't allowed.
I think that planet stay made them better captain and first officer later.
Oh, for sure.
Than they were before. I mean, Chakotay was a shitty first officer.
He was a shit character.
But their stay on that planet and the fact that they had to become more friendly to, coexist together and get things done. Mm-hmm. I think it made that relationship as captain and first officer when they got back a bit stronger.
You got to be careful with relationships with the upper brass. I
Yeah.
mean, look what happened with Paris and Janeway when they got turned into lizards.
It always comes
See,
back to the lizards with you, Sketch.
I liked that episode until that happened.
Yeah, I know.
I was
Then you kind of go,
fine with that
"What?"
episode until that happened, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you're just gonna leave those? What? Why did you just leave them there? What? You're supposed to seek out new life. What are you doing? What?
Creating new life.
Is that the episode that started the best and ended the worst?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ugh.
Absolutely, it started the
It was
best and ended
such
the
a
worst.
great start. I was like, wow, they're blowing away Warp 10. This is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Lizards.
They made Warp
Yeah.
10. Freaking Robert Duncan McNeil has a fantastic performance when he's doing all those monologues in sick bay.
And then they hit the lizard.
And then they had the fucking lizards. Like even him evolving into a lizard just himself was interesting. Right? But then they made Janeway turn into a lizard, and then they made them have lizard babies, and then I was done.
Yeah. that was a bridge too far. A lizard too far for me.
Lizard too far.
Lifestyle too far.
Since you mentioned her, I would have liked to have seen Seven and Harry end up together.
What?
Yeah, hear me out.
Sure.
Like she's the very logical, demanding, structured person. He's also got his own structure, but it's very limited. He's very Starfleet. He's very academic, and he's still very emotional. And I would have liked to have seen, and hear me out, more them playing into the Trekian notion of diversity, not being ham-fisted, but showing that, yeah, you can have a relationship between a man and a woman where the woman is the alpha in that pack, and the man is a little bit more, I don't want to say subservient, but for lack of a better word, a little bit more deferential to the woman in the relationship.
I think Seven and Kim would have been
It would have been better than Chakotay.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Minimally, but yeah.
Or the Doctor. Jesus.
They should have had Seven and Doc.
Yeah.
They really should have.
Can holographic sperm be assimilated?
The great thing is that Robert Picardo is such a great actor that he could have pulled that off.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You could see it when they were singing "You Are My Sunshine."
Yeah.
The look on his face, that
Like,
was well acted.
When that episode ended, I was like, poor Doc.
Yeah.
Man, like I felt so bad for Doc. I was like,
He falls for all the women. He fell for Kes too.
Yeah. But
Not
I
as
didn't
hard,
feel bad
though.
for Doc, though, because I liked them as really, really good friends.
mm-hmm.
Because they were both
How's
strangers.
my favorite Borg today? Annoyed. You will announce your presence before entering this room.
But their platonic relationship was just fantastic.
Oh yeah.
A lot of that, like you said, Hammer, was Picardo's just acting chops. He could chew up the entire episode if he needed to.
Yeah.
Like the one where he goes down to the planet, has the kid, the time locked planet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the emotion he brings in that very short scene of him talking about Jason, I was just like, damn, man, that hits you right there in the feels.
Does anyone else think that Robert Picardo was one of the best actors in the whole ensemble?
Oh,
As
No
far
doubt.
Voyager?
Without a
Hands
doubt,
down.
yeah.
as far
Hands down.
as technical skill to act, maybe.
As far as the whole franchise.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
I'm with you, Hammer. I really am. He could act. He could display such a range of emotions and project. So good at projecting feelings.
Oh,
I think it's awesome.
Project. Get it? Project.
Oh yeah, project.
I bet he could dance too. I bet he's a triple threat. He's one of those guys.
Oh, probably
Yeah.
because he can sing like crazy.
Can sing. Yeah.
Um,
If you're talking about platonic relationships, I will submit one for your approval. And it's something that I got that it was mentioned in an article about Star Trek, and I kind of agreed with the author. Kirk and the Enterprise. Kirk loved that ship, and it was personal.
How about Scotty in the Enterprise?
Scotty in the Enterprise too, but yet Scotty loved an aspect
engine.
of the Enterprise. Yeah, he
There's
loved,
a difference between those two.
Yeah.
I can
No,
see where
the whole
where you're
ship.
going on this, Skep, because Scotty saw it as his favorite car, where
right.
Kirk saw it as his favorite girl.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When he looks around that ship and says, "Never lose you, never."
Or when they come up on the Enterprise A and he says, "My friends, we've come home."
Or
Yes, exactly.
when he
Same thing.
blows up the Enterprise, and
What
he
have I
goes,
done?
My God, what have I done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's not just a, I killed people, blah blah. That's oh my God, I just blew up my. Oh my God, I just blew up my girl. I just blew up my girl.
And
Yeah.
McCoy's there for him right away. You know what you had to do. What you always do. You turn death into a chance for life.
Yeah.
He's right there to make sure that Kirk isn't hurting from it too much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because McCoy knows that's why he's upset. He's like,
Yeah.
This is a job for Perspective Man.
Perspective
that.
man. I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah, he hurts.
Perspective.
He almost hurts more losing the Enterprise than he does his own son. That tells you something.
Yeah, because you don't get.
He
the
had a
same-
relationship with the ship.
You
Yeah,
don't get the
more
same feeling
relationship.
Spent a lot more
as
time.
you do.
Yeah, you're right, BP.
You get you get that he's upset that David gets killed, but it's not the same
No, it's not.
as like because you Klingon bastard, you killed my son, versus what have I done?
And he defines the ship, and the ship defines him.
Him, yeah.
Very
Who
much.
is he?
look
He's a
at-
Starfleet captain, but he is the captain of the flagship, the Enterprise. And the Enterprise is known throughout the entire galaxy because of Kirk. It's that wonderful yin and yang,
Mhm.
and it's an inanimate object.
Just look at how he
Not
went
to
to
him.
pieces. when
Exactly.
he
Yeah,
became
exactly,
an
Skep.
admiral. Like, do you remember the first time he became an admiral and he went all like old man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and Kirk was like, "Okay, you need to go back to work. You need to be a captain again before you die in this room with your clock."
Isn't it funny how he was knocked down from admiral to captain, but it was a celebration?
Yeah.
He was demoted, and everyone was happy that he was demoted, including him.
Him,
Yeah,
yeah. It's like,
he was-
thank
yeah, he was
God.
the happiest one.
Even the guy who says it to him, he says, "We're going to have to bust you down to captain." You can see a look on his face. He's like, "You wanted this anyway, didn't you?"
Yeah.
And Kirk's like, "Yeah, I did." It's like,
Oh no, not captain.
yeah, really, exactly. Oh darn! I'm going to have to do exactly what I love the most. Oh, what a shame.
And I guess I have to pose to everyone, what would be your favorite familial relationship? Because we get a lot of good ones from Cisco and Jake to Spock and Sarek,
Picard and his brother.
Picard and his brother. Oh, that was painful.
Oh, wow. That's a heartbender.
Yeah.
And Hammer stops the stream dead in his
Well, because it was so.
It's everybody thinking about it.
Because Renee resented him, and
Yeah.
and almost hated him a little bit,
Yep.
but then when Picard goes all to pieces,
He's there for him.
he's
Yeah.
there for him.
He's the
Yeah.
first person there, yeah.
Yeah.
How about Beverly's darling boy?
Wesley?
Honestly,
Shut up, Wesley.
She was a better mother than Wesley was a son.
So Wesley,
yeah.
If that makes
Yeah,
any
that's true.
sense.
That's true.
Beverly was
There's something about that
great
relationship,
mom.
though, and it just didn't seem very much like a mother
Real.
and son to me.
didn't seem
no.
real. I
They
never
were
bought
way
that.
too much friend. She never gave him shit. And then the one time when she
Well,
did
she
give him
smacked
shit,
him.
she smacked him, and she had no reason to smack
And she
him.
was in the wrong, yeah.
And she was.
The hell did I just do? I smacked
Something you should
Wesley.
have done 2 seasons ago.
I've never smacked Wesley.
Maybe you should have. Yeah.
Yeah, really. it didn't seem like a strong bond, mother daughter. It's almost like boyfriend girlfriend.
Honestly, Luxana and Deanna have a more believable.
Oh yeah,
for
mother daughter, absolutely.
familial
Absolutely,
relation.
they do. Absolutely,
But that was real life too. They were very much like that in real life.
Yeah.
And another one that I thought was good, and it could have used a little bit more throughout the series, was Wharf and Alexander.
Yes.
They touch on it here and there, but for
Mhm.
most of the time, it's just sort of out of sight, out of mind. Wharf never really, you never get a scene of him going, I wonder how Alexander's doing today. It's just sort of, oh, this happens to be an episode where it's going to deal with that. Okay, we deal with it, and then it's never talked about until the next time
My
that they're.
favorite.
It's something very important that they don't pepper that into his life.
Yeah.
Even when Alexander is on the ship, they don't have to do a lot. They just have to have Alexander call him and say, "I'm going here, Dad," and he just taps his comm badge and says, "Fine," and then they move on. Well, it takes a second to throw that into any script, and it shows that there's a constant communication between them. Without that, he's just a guest star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that the screen time that they did share and the arcs that did surround that relationship, I thought were really good.
Especially in the episode Firstborn, the last Wharf Alexander episode of TNG, where he takes him to the Klingon festival.
Yes.
And then future Alexander comes back as Kentar.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that he's with the House of Kern. Basically, and he tries to because in his future Worf is killed, and Alexander thinks that it's his fault, right? And and Worf kind of realizes that he's got to kind of ease up on the Klingon warrior stuff, because that's not who Alexander is.
And not how he was brought up by Worf's own.
Yeah,
devices.
Not how Kalar raised him, not how Worf's parents raised him, not even how Worf is raising him, because he's on the Enterprise.
And speaking of, I loved his interaction with his parents.
Oh my god, yes.
Couldn't be anybody else but Russians.
Nope.
Minsk.
No, and they were so, it was so great to see Worf's parents. I loved seeing that, and how his dad was just, this so happy to be on the Enterprise. I have studied all the technical manuals. I have all the technical journals. Can I please see the engine room?
Helena and Sergei, just so good. I loved his dad. He'd always just chew up the scene with whoever he was interacting with, from Worf to Picard to Geordi to Data.
What was it he said when they called him Sir? And he goes, "Sir, I worked for a living." That old petty officer joke, the old chief joke, the enlisted man joke,
I would have been interested to see the potential for, I know that they were quite old in TNG, but the potential interactions between them and Jadzia. That might have been interesting, could have been cool, but we never got to see that, of course.
I think Worf's mom and Jadzia would have gotten along really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Helena would have really, really been glad that Worf and with Jadzia.
I always look these people up. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was just going to say, speaking of people's mother, you just reminded me that, was it Ishka and the Grand Negus?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got it on at one point. That was kind of an interesting relationship.
Yes.
Anyone else really like Moogie?
I love her.
Moogie's awesome.
Yeah, Moogie's cool. And what I love is that there's a rule of acquisition regarding love. Yep. Rule of acquisition number, I had to look it up, number 94. Females and finances don't mix.
Yep.
That is so funny.
It's an alien relationship for families, but Moogie and her and Ramen Quark.
Yeah.
Are
two very different characters.
two very different characters, same mom. They both love their mom.
They're
Like,
sure
but,
they do.
But Quark is very much a Ferengi, and he's like,
Rom
very
is
reserved, very
Rom is the least Ferengi-like Ferengi, even though that exact appellation is applied to Quark at one point.
Yep. But
But Rom is the one who's not Ferengi-like.
Oh yeah, Quark is very much follow the rules of acquisition. Mother shouldn't be in charge of the finances of the
shouldn't
business.
wear clothes.
She shouldn't wear
Should
clothes.
wear clothes, right?
She should all
If
this
they didn't-
stuff.
If they didn't do that Starfleet angle with Nog, I could have seen Rom go into Starfleet.
Yeah.
At least as an enlisted man.
And even Quark was like really, really upset that his nephew would deign to put on a Starfleet uniform.
That's not something a
And
Ferengi
Rom
does.
was like beaming with joy. He was like, "My boy's a Starfleet cadet." Like it was just, yeah.
I've been checking the people that we've been talking about as we've been going along, and I'm surprised at how many people have passed.
Oh yeah.
A lot of these people are not around anymore.
Really?
Yeah, Helena and Rozhenko,
Yeah.
they're both gone.
I did not know.
Oh, I knew
Noah-
she was. I didn't know Noah did.
Yeah, Noah Darren,
Yeah.
she's gone. Picard's from Lessons, she's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
I'm going through them as we're talking about people, just looking them up. I mean, Worf's brother, Paul Servino, is still alive,
Yeah.
but everybody else in that family is gone already.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how many people have passed. I guess it's been a long enough amount of time, right?
Yeah, it really has. Several decades.
But yeah, I mean, that's the reason why we never saw the doctor from Enterprise,
Oh, Phlox.
Phlox, and that girl that he took a shine to in the first season. She passed. That's the reason why she was never in the show anymore.
Oh. How old was she when she died?
She was young. I'll do the
early 30s, late
Very
20s.
doctor. I'll look it up. But I know she did, but I don't
What's
have
her
the
name?
the checks in front of you. I'm finding it for you.
Yeah, I was kind of curious.
Because that was a cute little romantic.
I thought that was going somewhere. I really did.
And then later in the series, when you actually learn about Denobulan romance and how, I don't want to say cavalier, but they're not as super serious about.
His name is John Billingsley. That's who
Billingsley,
Dr.
yeah.
Phlox is played by.
Okay.
But I'm trying to track down who that girl was. It's spelled Phlox,
Correct.
not FLOX. PH. Girlfriend, maybe? I don't even know if I should put that in there.
Ah,
Girl.
Dr. Phlox.
It's, they never do anything, but I mean, RL.
That
Well,
would be
it's already auto answered.
Because he had
Oh, it's
some,
Fiesel is his
Three wives.
wife, not his girlfriend. Yeah.
his second
Three
wife.
wives. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Denobulans are a polyamorous species, right?
Yes.
Yep.
They have multiple marriages, and it's not relegated to male or female.
Like
The
Space
girl's name was-
Mormons.
The
Ensign
girl's name
Butler.
was Ensign Cutler was her name, like
Ah.
cutlery.
Butler, yes.
And I have her up on Alpha on Memory Alpha, but I'm trying to find. They always bury the name of the actor. I guess they want you to think Star Trek. Think Star Trek. Think Star. Don't think that this is actually a human person, but it was. Kaylee Waymeyer. Kaylee Waymeyer. Personal life, television work, film work, appearances, external links. Great. Don't tell me what happened to her. Let me just look her up on Wikipedia instead. Copy, paste, enter. Died November 1st, 2003 in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Let's see if I can find out why.
She
It was something like a stroke or something like that that killed her.
Not
A
to
heart
death
attack.
by raccoons in an alley, it says.
On November 13th, 2003, Waymeyer died in her home in Venice, Los Angeles, California, of cardiac arrest caused by an undiagnosed cardiac arrhythmia,
Oh.
likely related to a mitral valve prolapse, a condition with which she had been diagnosed as a teenager. Her funeral was held November 23, 2003 in West Milton, Ohio, in the middle of shooting.
2003 she died?
2003, yeah.
That's
Are you
sad.
kidding me? Oh my God.
And she couldn't be more than, what, like 28, 29?
She was
Died at the
Maybe.
age of 36.
Little elfin face.
Oh, she was.
She was born in 67,
36,
died in
yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
she looked really good when she was on Enterprise then, for her age.
Oh my
Beautiful.
God. She
Very
is
youthful.
a fellow pony. She was a fellow pony. Let's see when she graduated. She went to SMU. Gotta see. The SMU is where one of my alma maters. Gotta see when she did some postgraduate acting work, or did some, I'm sorry, undergrad acting work, and actually got her Bachelor of Fine Arts. She got her BFA from SMU.
She must have been alone when she died,
Yeah.
because that's something you can recover from.
Yeah. If somebody's with you, they could call the police or the
Yeah.
ambulance. And,
You don't die immediately from mitral valve prolapse. That takes an hour,
Yeah.
because you pass out and you just slowly starve, your blood starves you to death is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked her
Oxygen.
character in trying to build these relationships with Phlox and T'Pol, because she was an entomologist. So she was very interested in new life, alien life forms.
Yeah.
And you could see that her character and how they wrote her character was trying to pursue these particular individuals who were the only aliens on board. So she wanted to build these relationships with it. I thought it was a good little thing. And you're right, it would have been nice had, this tragedy not taken place, to see maybe something bud, whether or not it's a romantic relationship with Phlox or just more of a professional relationship with either or both of them. I think it would have been cool.
Yeah, I agree. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships.
It's an interesting topic.
There are a lot of species of
Yeah.
relationships and a lot of types of relationships. There's so much to talk about there. There's so many ways to slice how you're going to do relationships. We've platonic, non-platonic, romantic, strange, interspecies, love of spaceship. I mean, we've
Remember
layers
Shran
that
and
could
his,
be
and
built.
his the
Shran and
Enar,
Archer.
Yeah.
one of the Enar girls.
lot of pieces.
Yeah.
So a lot of ways you can relationship is a very general thing, and there were a lot of examples very very different from one another.
Mm-hmm.
That this has been a fun stream. I really
Good
enjoyed this.
suggestion, Skep.
Well, thanks. Just kind of suggested itself. It's that time of
Enemies is
year.
going to be good too.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
I said enemies is going to be good too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we should do that after because next week is going to be our favorite non-humans in the Trek world.
In the Trekiverse.
I think we all know
And-
who I'm going to pick.
And then after that, we can do
Everyone's going
enemies.
to pick the same person.
Well, yeah, most of us are going to pick the same actor, maybe
Yeah.
not the same character.
That's true.
There's a hint for the audience.
There are so many awesome
Rivalries.
alien species and characters to pick from, and there are so many awesome rivalries to pick from for the week after. So come and watch that, guys. And tomorrow, come and watch The Blind and the Special at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And Irate, who do you have tomorrow?
Tomorrow I will be talking with Vash Lancet.
Oh, cool.
That. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
So yeah, it's been on. Man, it's like I told you, I got a long list. I'm getting into the second tier now.
I'm honored to have been on your show
Are
back
you
in the day.
thinking of doing a where are they now thing with some of your your previous guests?
Yeah, I've got an idea how I want to do that too.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I've had something in the works for 6 months,
Okay.
and I've been toying about how to go about it,
Cool.
and I may just use the same format. Say screw
And
it.
anybody who's listening to this stream, if you have not checked out Irate Prostate's channel and his interview style, he really has a talent for this. I'm embarrass you, but it's absolutely true. It's really
Yeah.
worth watching. Ask good questions, very cool environment and great opening and outro to boot. Worth watching all the way through.
And as
I
Irate
try and make
says,
this often as I can.
who doesn't like ice cream?
That's right.
Of course.
Exactly.
Who doesn't like ice cream?
Over 100.
You could call it the cocaine stream. Who doesn't like cocaine?
We'll keep coming back for that shit.
People with arrhythmia, but
First
one
station is
Interview.
free.
The interviews would be way too short.
Great minds, blind press.
Indeed.
So, and of course, Minions tonight for Scap Functional, and they'll be there with the Harry channel.
Yes, we will.
yes.
And we will be discussing the fact that President Trump was
Didn't
acquitted.
do.
Yep.
He was acquitted today. He was the
He
Senate.
put out a
voted-
pretty good press release too. I don't know if you caught it.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he put out a 2-page press release that was very presidential.
I will.
It was not crazy. It was not silly or stupid or outrageous or anything. That was just very much a very middle, center of the road, very straightforward press release. It was pretty good read. I was like, I sent out a tweet earlier that he has to run for something so I can vote for him. I don't care what it is. Just run for something. You want to vote for him. Just to watch people lose their minds. It'd be just too much fun.
All right, guys. Well, that has brought us to the end of our show, and I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and thank you to my co-hosts for joining me, and we will see you all again next weekend. And I would like to also wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. So,
Happy VD.
on that note, everybody, goodbye.
Happy
Bye, everybody.
VD, everybody.
Later, Taters.
Goodbye.